move.
So, Snowpiercer.
Yes.
It is just one of my favorite movies of the year, and it was, I'm always delighted to talk to you, but I'm curious to know what it was like working on that movie, on the set.
Yeah.
What was the physical kind of experience of it?
Well, we built a train in a huge studio in, I want to say Budapest, it wasn't Budapest, it was Prague, and yeah, on a gimbal. So all that sort of jiving we were doing was for real, and that really helped. But Bong Joon-ho is a complete master and a force to be reckoned with. And he tells you what's going to happen, and then you go and it's exactly like that. And then he shows you while you shoot, which is apparently the Korean way. Very, very interesting way of working. So you're making a jigsaw. And it's strangely freeing, actually, because he'll say, okay, so we shot, look at this. This is the shot where you're reaching out your hand. And then this is the shot after you pick up the bucket or whatever. So all we need is the bit in between with you putting your hand down, picking up the bucket and throwing it over the whatever it is, right? So you have, strangely, a great freedom because you know exactly what's required and you know what the join has to be here and what the join has to be there, but you're absolutely kind of liberated in the middle. It's very strange. He kind of makes an editor of everybody who works with him, I think.
Interesting. So how did you and he develop the look of this remarkable character? And it looked like you were having fun.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that was the deal, really, was to have some fun. I met Bong, and we became friends very quickly. I was already a major fan of his work. I'd seen everything I could. He even now has shown me his first film, Barking Dogs Never Bite, which is very rare but worth tracking down and really sick in all the right ways. He didn't give it up. We had to go hunting for it, but it's worth hunting for. No, he's extraordinary. I knew Memories of Murder is one of my favourite films, and The Host I was a devotee of. And so we met, and then we wanted to work together, and then he said, well, this next one I'm doing, there's not really anything for you. So I said, okay, that's not unusual. And then he sent it, I said, I'd love to read it anyway, just, as your friend. And I agreed, there was nothing for me to do in it, but I was, happy to do anything I could to help him make the film. And then he said, what about this? I mean, it was almost random. It was almost like darts into a board. What about this part? This mild-mannered man in a suit. What about that? Could you do something with that? So I said, as a deal breaker, we've got to have some fun, because there has to be some fun in the film anyway, because apart from anything else, it's an allegory about the universe as created for 17 years by this sort of free radical society. And it's pretty grim, and there has to be something in it that has it. I was thinking of Kubrick. I was thinking of the kind of games that Kubrick and Peter Sellers played. And I felt that it would be not only fun, but also kind of interesting to spin this politician villain into a clown. And so then I started to think about what clowns would resonate for me personally, and I came up with this suggestion, and then we put it together. Thank you very much. I'm just making some coffee here. Empty cup first. Thank you very much. It's been poured for me. Yeah, and then we decided to just
Dr.
play with the look.
Strangelove makes perfect sense now that you say it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the teeth are crucial.
Yeah, the teeth were very important. I mean, it was really important for Mason to be, thank you very much, to be a construct. I mean, as I say, it's interesting because they're beginning to talk about maybe doing a prequel television series. We were talking about it. And
where would that be?
God knows.
Okay.
God knows. Right. Actually, God knows, it's quite fascinating to imagine what is the life before the train. It could be anything, really.
Yeah,
it could be
like
a soap opera, super naturalistic. But thinking about what Mason might have been before the train, Mason could be anybody. Mason could be anything. Mason could be... My fantasy about Mason is that Mason is some incredibly mild-mannered man in a suit, maybe a librarian or some slightly overlooked person who just takes their chance, as these despots tend to do. And the interesting thing about putting together the kind of madness of the clown was that when we looked at, you look at footage of Gaddafi or of Berlusconi, let alone Hitler, of course, and Goebbels or Mussolini, or even Margaret Thatcher, or occasionally people who have ruled in this great nation. They are really extreme. They are, and they play to the clown very often, and they bank on the fact that, in retrospect, even at the same time, we will say, do you know what? I kind of like him. He's kind of kooky, and that's a lot of the time why people put up with these people, because somehow their funny bones get tickled, or even they start being endeared to them because they find them. I mean, we have, a situation in the UK at the moment where there's a major political clown who they're really seriously talking about being eventually made Prime Minister. And I can completely imagine it happening because of the sort of soap opera value, the entertainment value that somebody like Mason carries.
So you played another very broad role in Grand Budapest Hotel this year.
Yeah.
And again, you seem to, you're a very beautiful woman, and yet you seem to enjoy finding a different kind of beauty in an older character.
It's something that's actually very easy for me, this kind of burlesque. I mean, it's something, I'm not someone who works in the theatre anymore, but there was a time when I was a student when I worked in the theatre, and I worked a lot with Brecht and a lot with this idea of clown, and it's something that's a real sort of facility for me. And I also worked with Terry Gilliam also and made another clown, which maybe less people have seen this
haven't
year.
had a chance to see that yet.
It's
but
really
what
worth
was it
looking
like?
for.
I look forward to it. What was it like working with Terry?
Oh, it was a dream. I knew Terry anyway, and I was sort of making peace with the fact that he was a friend of mine, but I would never work with him. And then he rang me up and said, "Will you come and play for a bit?" I was so happy because you have this legend in your head, and then you get onto the set and you see how it works, and it was amazing. He is extraordinary, and he was making that film at the Zero Theorem with almost no money. I mean, really almost no money. People say almost no money when they mean they've got less than 200 million, but really he was, making it out of straw. And
people talk about a kind of creative chaos with him. Is that fair to say?
Well, actually,
with great people working for him.
I expected that. I expected that, and that doesn't frighten me. I've worked alongside and in the heart of that for years. What I was really impressed by was how he's holding it all in his head. So it's actually not chaotic at all. It may feel chaotic for other people. Maybe that's why they call it chaotic, because it loses in translation. There's only so much telling he can do, because it's in there, and he's trying to get it out and onto the screen. I found him phenomenally disciplined and so inventive. I mean, when things didn't work, just coming up with another solution within a millisecond, and then when that didn't work, okay, how much time do we have? Let's come up with a third solution, the fourth then, constantly, which obviously is what he's been doing for years and years. No, I was really thrilled to work with him, and I think it's a really interesting film. And I hope more people get to see it. It's one of those slow burners, but let's hope it sort of, crescendos at some point.
Well, one of the things that you seem to be able to do is to use a kind of androgyny in your favor. And I wondered, going all the way back to the very beginning with Orlando, and I wondered how much you're playing with that in your own mind as you select these parts, and don't worry about whether it's a man or a woman or a clown.
No, it's funny because to say that I play with androgyny, it sounds, I suppose on one hand it's accurate, but actually that's not how it feels to me. It feels like I'm just not playing with a different kind of costume. I'm not walking around the world with the sort of human shape of a dolly bird, and I never did, and so I never needed to carry that baggage. I was free of it.
That's
so for
good.
me, it feels that I'm freer than that I'm actually cottoning on to a different shape, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense, but it also means you have more tools.
Many more, because I can dress up as a dolly bird. You know, it is possible, and sometimes it's exactly the right thing to do. It's just not a trap. It's not the only place that I can go. And of course, some people would find that deeply sad that one was not trapped in the shape of a dolly bird, but it's never stopped me. I think it's kind of a freedom to be able to morph and for example, with Grand Budapest, what fun to play with being however old she's supposed to be, 96. I think she tells everybody she's 82, but actually she's probably pushing 100. That to go into that space, to imagine what it is, and then of course in Only Lovers Left Alive to play someone who is thousands of years old, to play with that. So it's not just a question of gender or how much one is a dolly bird. It's also how old you are, how long you've lived, what you've managed to accrue, and how you keep going forward.
You got to play with Tom Hiddleston.
I did.
And I loved the idea that age was irrelevant in that scenario, and that you were ageless lovers and sexy and having fun.
Well, it's not irrelevant because, of course, Eve is much older than him. He's very young. He's a stripling of 500 years old, I think. And there's so much he has to learn, and so I'm still able to
play the older woman.
Be patient. Not that one needs to be patient in life.
But look at these filmmakers you're working with, and one thing that strikes me about them is that they're all, every filmmaker is visual to a degree, but these filmmakers are the most visual, the most inventive that I can think of.
Yeah.
All of them.
It's really true. It's a very, well, for me as a fan of all of them, it's very exciting that they all made films that were released this year. That's really thrilling to have a new Wes Anderson, a new Jim Jarmusch, and a Bong Joon-ho, and all of them to be at the top of their game. That's really thrilling.
With your help.
With my great pleasure, and I should be so lucky. And it is also, as a film fan, incredibly thrilling to, see yourself in a Jim Jarmusch film, which is really a Jim Jarmusch film. It's like one of his, in my humble opinion, one of his greatest films, and it's really Jim. And I'm somehow in there, and then in a Bong Joon-ho film as well, and in a Wes Anderson film, which is quite glorious. That Grand Budapest Hotel just, took us all on this amazing ride.
I went to Carl Vivari, and I saw some of the inspirations. I saw the
It's
hotel
all there.
poop.
It's all there.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was really fun. Yeah. So you have some other things coming up as well that are really cool. There's something in pre-production, which is the Coen Brothers.
The Coen Brothers,
Caesar,
yes,
right?
Hail Caesar.
What are you playing in that film? Hedda Hopper?
Well,
who?
I don't know whether I'm allowed to say. Ooh,
IMDb
spoiler
says
alert.
Hedda Hopper.
I think we might have to. IMDb will, is God. Let's face it.
But they're often
always
wrong.
gets things right. Let's just say. Oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know whether I'm allowed to say
When does that start filming?
I start filming in December. I'm going from here to a costume fitting.
Excellent.
Yes, very excited
For someone
about
who
that.
may or may not be Hedda Hopper.
No, I'm going to leave it with Hedda Hopper. It's not exactly a spoiler alert, but it's a teaser suggestion. Let's say that. There's a little something left in reserve that I'm not telling you. But yeah.
Now you worked with them on Burn This before, right? Have
I
got
worked.
that? Burn After Reading.
Burn After Reading. Yes, I did.
Oh, terrible. So this is your sense that this is comedic in a similar way?
The film?
Yes.
Yes. I think we'll be doing something
We're doing
very wrong
broad.
if people don't laugh.
Okay.
Yeah. It's called Hail Caesar. It has George Clooney in it, and it has an exclamation mark in the title. I don't know what else I can say. Yeah. I hope it's going to be funny.
And what else have you got in the can, as they say?
In the can. Well, I had a really nice time in the summer working with Judd Apatow and Amy Schumer on Trainwreck, and so that's coming out, I suppose, in the summer, next summer, and that was a real delight for me to work with those guys, because they work in such a particular way. And I was working with some of my most revered comedians. Yeah, and what else? Oh, and we're still finishing, but preparing a new film. Luca Guadagnino and I, who made I Am Love.
Which I love.
We made a film in the summer called Bigger Splash. Yes, with Ray Fiennes and Dakota Johnson and Matthias Schoenertz.
And what kind of film is that? How would you describe that?
That question, golly. Yeah, when you're in the middle of shooting something and you trying to think of how to describe it. Well, again, to talk of IMDb land, I think that Studio Canal thought they were going to get a remake of La Piscine, and I think that's what the deal was. It's not a remake of La Piscine, but it's sort of inspired a little by a scenario. It's about, it's a kind of huis clos with 4 people on an island in the Mediterranean over a very short period of time, kind of working out their lives. What else? That just sounds so generic. That sounds like
Do you get
every
to play
other
a dolly
film.
girl in this one?
How interesting.
Because you were beautiful in I Am Love.
I'm not bad
Very
in
elegant.
this one. I'm not bad in this one. I'm a rock star in this one. Yeah, but the film is very much, I think, I love that I'm now leaping to what it's about, and we haven't even finished filming it. It's about, how to survive things, how to survive. In the film, there is a relationship, 2 people who have used to be together and aren't together anymore. It's about exes.
Excellent.
It's about exes. It's about how to go on having a relationship, a friendship, a connection with your ex, who also has a relationship with your lover, and that's what it's about. It's about life, grown-up things.
Oh, we can all relate to that.
It's an allegory.
And the film festival that you always do, how's that going?
Well, you say we always do it, and I like that thought. We do always do it in that we're always doing it in our heads, but we haven't actually done one for a few years because it's incredibly time-consuming. It's only put together by 5 of us actually on the ground. There are only 5 of us who make it, and the truth is, it's become such a big deal that, and we don't want more than 5 people to do it because then it won't be the personal thing that it is. And we've all been quite busy, so we will find a time. But what's for sure is we'll only do it when people are not expecting us to do it, and it will be done in a place and in a way that no one will have been able to think of. And so we're trying. The deal is that it's random, that it's not to be predicted, and that it's going to take people by surprise. So we will see. Just when everybody thinks we've forgotten about it, we will do it again.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne.